Good evening. Welcome to Loveworld USA News. I'm Barbara Samd. First, a quick look at the top stories this evening. President Trump signed strategic defense and aviation agreement with Qatar, elevating bilateral ties. Federal judge upholds Trump administration's use of Alien Enemies Act for deportations. House Republicans advance major Trump-backed spending and tax bill. President Trump offers Syria sanctions relief in exchange for ties with Israel security cooperation. Trump administration considers green light for UAE to import over 1 million Nvidia AI chips. And now to the news. President Donald Trump has signed multiple defense and commercial agreements with Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani on Wednesday, deepening U.S.-Qatar relations through military collaborations, and a high-profile Boeing aircraft deal. The agreement includes Qatar's intent to purchase Boeing planes and MQ-9 Reaper drones, alongside broader U.S.-Qatar cooperation documents. President Trump praised the Emir for his leadership and called the partnership stronger than ever, highlighting both security and economic dimensions of the expanding alliance. Today marks a new level in our strategic cooperation, said Al Thani. The Emir noted that the agreement reflects Qatar's ongoing commitment to bilateral economic growth and regional stability. This deepening partnership comes amid controversy over Qatar's offer to gift a Boeing 747 to the U.S. as a temporary Air Force One replacement. While President Trump has welcomed the offer, critics include Senator Rick Scott voiced national security concerns over Qatar's tie to groups like Hamas. Despite past tensions where President Trump in 2017 accused Qatar of funding terrorism, Qatar has since been designated a major non-NATO U.S. ally and now hosts the AI Udeid Air Base, a central hub for American military operations in the region. Beyond defense, the Trump organization also confirmed a new agreement with Qatar Dar to develop a luxury golf resort, signaling stronger economic ties. Meanwhile, Qatar continues to play a key role in U.S. mediated negotiations in the Middle East, including hostage releases and ceasefire discussions related to the Israel-Hamas conflict. The Biden-designated strategic partnership appears to be gaining momentum under Trump's renewed leadership, with both countries aligning around security, investment, and diplomacy. Watch this.
We had a couple of hours of great meeting with the President, and we discussed many issues, our great bilateral relationship, and also the situation in the region. Of course, I think after signing these documents, we are going to another level of relationship between Qatar and the United States. So I just wanted to thank you, Mr. President, again for this historic visit. Thank you very much, sir.
Well, thank you very much. And this has been a very interesting couple of hours. We discussed the world, but we've been friends for a long time, and this is an outstanding man. He's a great man, and we're going to help each other. I just want to thank you for the friendship, for the long-time friendship. And again, long before any of this stuff, we just liked each other. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. But we always had a very special relationship. And we came from Saudi Arabia, where we have another great man over there that's a friend of yours. And you two guys get along so well and like each other. You sort of remind me a little bit of each other, if you want to know the truth. They're both tall, handsome guys that happen to be very smart. But he's also a very special guy, and it's good to see all the relationships forming in the Middle East. It's a great honor to be with you. This is, you take a look at this room. This room is the real deal. That's called white marble. It's very hard to buy. Believe me, I know very well, because you try to buy it, you can't buy it. And you just take a look at what you have here. It's been incredible what you've been able to build as a nation. And we're with you all the way, and you know that.
A federal judge in Pennsylvania has ruled that President Donald Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act, AEA, to deport alleged migrant gang members is lawful, setting a legal contrast with two previous federal rulings on the issue. U.S. District Judge Stephanie Hines, appointed by Trump, upheld the administration's use of the AEA, a century-old wartime law, to remove non-citizens based on the claim that migrant gangs represent a hybrid criminal state. However, she ruled that the administration must give individuals more notice before deportation proceedings begin. Judge Hines pointed to evidence submitted by the administration, including Secretary of State Marco Rubio's designation of Venezuela Tren de Agra gang as a foreign terrorist organization. She concluded the group's activity qualifies as a predatory incursion under the EAE and agreed with the president's assessment of the ties to Maduro regime. Despite her support for the legal basis of the deportations, Hines halted the removal of a Venezuela detainee, requiring the government to provide at least 21 days' notice and inform the detainee in both English and Spanish. The ACLU, representing the petitioner, criticized the broader ruling and objected to the AEA's application during peacetime. This decision differs from a recent ruling in Texas, where another Trump-appointed judge found the administration's AEA or AEA invocation to exceed legal limits. The legal battle is expected to continue as the administration defends the policy. Watch this.
We're going to have a very dangerous country if we're not allowed to do what we're entitled to do. And I won an election based on the fact that we get them out, and we've done an amazing job.
A federal judge in Pennsylvania has approved President Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act. This is the first time a judge has approved using this law to fast-track deportations of some undocumented immigrants. Judge Stephanie Hines, who was appointed by Trump, agreed that a Venezuelan gang is a predatory incursion. That's the key phrase that triggers the law. Now, the court did say the Trump administration needs to give people a heads up. Detainees get 21 days notice, a chance to be heard, and Spanish interpreters. Other courts have blocked Trump's attempts to use this law. Even Trump-appointed judges disagree on this. And there's more. A top White House aide says they're considering suspending habeas corpus to speed things up even further. Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller says the Constitution allows it in time of invasion.
House Republicans are moving forward with President Trump's signature legislative package, a sweeping bill that includes over $5 trillion in tax breaks while proposing deep cuts to Medicaid, food aid programs, and green energy initiatives. The bill, referred to by GOP lawmakers as the Big Beautiful Bill, is undergoing lengthy committee review amid growing Democratic resistance and concerns within the Republican ranks. The proposal seeks to extend and expand the 2017 tax cuts with new measures eliminating taxes on tips, Social Security income, and car loan interest. It also raises the standard for deductions to $32,000 for couples and increases the child tax credit. To offset some of the costs, the plan rolls back green energy tax cuts and cuts nearly $800 billion from Medicaid and $290 billion from their Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program over the next decade. The legislation also includes funding increases for key Republican priorities, such as $350 billion for Trump's mass deportation initiative and additional Pentagon funding. A controversial provision will allow the administration to revoke tax-exempt statuses from organizations it deems supportive of terrorism. Speaker Mike Johnson aims to pass the bill through the House by Memorial Day, with coordination underway for a Senate revision. Despite procedural delays and amendments offered by Democrats, the Republican leadership remains in close contact with Trump, who has expressed strong support for the bill's tax provisions. The package also includes a $4 trillion increase to the national debt ceiling intended to prevent default and fund government operations through the 2026 election. The news will be back after this break.
These companies are putting profits ahead of people. Pharmaceutical drug prices are astronomically high, too high, way too high, and something needs to be done about them.
Here in America, it will not surprise you to know that we pay the highest prescription drug prices of any developed nation in the world.
UK, $41. United States of America, $424.
They're probably not as cheap as they should be or could be.
Why are the pharmaceutical companies charging double what they are in other countries for the drugs that her kids need to stay alive?
Found that the manufacturers set the price solely to jack up profits with no regard for whether families would be able to afford it. So it's time for government to step in on the side of the American people to stop this extortion.
There is no reason for a drug as simple as insulin, which costs $21 in Canada for a 10 milliliter bottle, to cost the equivalent of a mortgage payment or sometimes 2 mortgage payments.
The Democrats are the ones that allowed this to happen. They were the ones that were the protector of this pricing system.
Welcome back. President Donald Trump has proposed lifting sanctions on Syria if the country's new leadership normalizes relations with Israel and takes concrete steps on regional security. During a meeting with Syrian President Ahmed al-Shahar, Trump urged Syria to join the Abraham Accords and to cut ties with terrorist groups. Trump asked Syria to expel all foreign terrorists, deport Palestinian militants, assist in preventing an ISIS resurgence, and take control of ISIS detention centers in northeast Syria. Currently, U.S.-backed Kurdish forces hold roughly 10,000 ISIS fighters in those facilities. The announcement comes during Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and the UAE. Trump praised Syria's new government and said he hopes it succeeds in stabilizing the war-torn country. Al-Shahar rose to power after the ouster of Bashar al-Assad last year and previously led Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, a group that once had ties to al-Qaeda but split. Let's take a look.
My administration has already taken the first steps toward restoring normal relations between the United States and Syria for the first time in more than a decade. After discussing the situation in Syria with the Crown Prince, your Crown Prince, and also with President Erdogan of Turkey, who called me the other day and asked for a very similar thing, among others, and friends of mine, people that I have a lot of respect for in the Middle East, I will be ordering the cessation of sanctions against Syria in order to give them a chance at greatness. Oh, what I do for the Crown Prince. The sanctions were brutal and crippling and served as an important, really an important function, nevertheless, at the time. But now it's their time to shine. It's their time to shine. We're taking them all off, and they're going to have, I think they're going to have, based on the people and the spirit and everything else that I'm hearing about. So I say good luck, Syria. Show us something very special like they've done, frankly, in Saudi Arabia. Okay, they're going to show us something special.
The Trump administration is negotiating a deal that could allow the United Arab Emirates to purchase over 1 million advanced NVIDIA AI chips, a move that will significantly exceed limits imposed under Biden-era export controls, according to Bloomberg News. The proposed agreement will authorize the UAE to import 500,000 of NVIDIA's most advanced chips annually through 2027. Roughly 20% of those chips would reportedly be allocated to G42, an Abu Dhabi-based artificial intelligence firm with past ties to Chinese technology networks. The remainder will support data center expansion by U.S.-based companies operating in the Gulf region, including potentially OpenAI, which is expected to announce new infrastructure plans in the UAE. The Biden administration's earlier AI exports restrictions aimed to curb China's access to cutting-edge semiconductor technology via third-party countries. Critics in Washington have warned that G42 could serve as a backdoor for China to access U.S. chip technology, prompting concerns about national security and tech leakage. President Trump has recently emphasized closer economic ties with Gulf allies, including securing a $600 billion Saudi investment commitment. The Department of Commerce has signaled it may roll back or revise the AI chip export rules, reflecting a broader shift in strategy under Trump to prioritize business growth and foreign investment over the previous administration's strict regulatory posture. Let's take a look.
The Trump administration is preparing to announce a deal to grant Saudi Arabia more access to advanced semiconductors, allowing the country to increase its data center capacity. Sources telling our own Anne-Marie Horduran the agreement would boost the country's ability to buy chips from NVIDIA and AMD. The deal could be announced as soon as this week.
Chinese tech giant Tencent has reported a 13% year-on-year increase in revenue for the first quarter of 2025, driven by strong growth in its gaming division and advertising business. The company posted 182 billion yen, which is about $25 billion in revenue, beating analysts' expectations. Net profit came to 47.8 billion yen, up 14% from the previous years, though some forecasts below. Tencent, which operates popular titles like Honor of Kings and Peacekeeper Elite, saw domestic gaming revenue jump 24% to 42.9 billion yen. International gaming also performed well, rising 23% to 16.6 billion yen, with hits like PUBG, Mobile, and Brawl Stars contributing to the gains. The firm is one of the largest gaming companies in the world. Advertising revenue grew 20% to 31.9 billion yen, reflecting strong demand for ad placements within Tencent's WeChat ecosystem, which serves over 1.4 billion users. The company credited improved ad targeting powered by artificial intelligence for their strong performance in this area. Tencent increased its capital spending by 91% to 27.5 billion yen as it invested in artificial intelligence, including its proprietary large language model and AI chatbot. Company executives said they have to build a strong stockpile of chips to manage ongoing U.S. export controls and expect AI to contribute to long-term profitability. The news continues after this break. Stay with us.
The world is watching. Billions of hearts, billions of souls, each one a life that matters. And every day they're being touched by the power of the gospel because you gave our dearest partners. Through the Loveworld networks, the message of our Lord Jesus is reaching further than ever before, into nations where churches are silenced, into homes where hope had disappeared, into hearts where light had never shone, into every man's world. This is the year of completeness. And truly, we are everywhere. You, our highly esteemed partners, have taken your place in this divine mission, the mandate to complete the full preaching of the gospel in all nations of the world. Through your giving, Our language-specific stations are now heard in corners of the earth where no preacher has ever stepped. You sponsored airtime that transformed lives, sending light into the darkest corners. You brought the Loveworld networks into homes, schools, offices by tagging your names to our ministry programs, sponsoring our studio upgrade around the world, and ensuring Pastor Chris in 1 billion homes is a reality. In 2025, we are taking bold steps to complete the full preaching of the gospel in our time through our Pastor Chris in 1 billion homes project. Together, we are fulfilling Matthew 24:14, and this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come. We are marching forward, flooding the nations with the truth of God's word. Pastor Chris in 1 billion homes. No barrier is too high, no nation is too far, no home is unreachable, and the time is now. We call on our army of passionate partners across the globe. Be a part of Pastor Chris in 1 billion homes project today. Stand with the man of God. Stand with the Loveworld networks. Partner without limits. Let your giving echo into eternity. And together, let's flood the earth with the message of our Lord Jesus. For more information, please call the number showing on your screen. God bless you.
Welcome back. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has labeled a group of white South Africans cowards following their recent resettlement in the United States under a refugee program approved by President Donald Trump. Ramaphosa said the 59 Afrikaners who arrived in Washington on Monday were fleeing South Africa's effort to address historic land inequalities, not persecution. He claimed they would be back soon, end quote. President Trump has said the group faced racial discrimination in South Africa, echoing statements made by U.S. officials who welcomed the new arrivals and described them as having, end quote, lived under a shadow of violence and terror. The Biden-era refugee criteria, still in effect, allow racial minorities who face or fear persecution to be eligible for resettlement if specific conditions are met. Afrikaners who are descendants of Dutch settlers were omitted under this clause. The South African government, however, has rejected claims of prosecution and says no land has been seized under its controversial expropriation law signed in January. That law allows land to be taken without compensation in certain cases, deemed to be in the public interest. White South Africans who own the vast majority of farmland, despite making up just over 7% of the population, have voiced growing concerns over property rights and rural safety. Ramaphosa criticized Trump's assessment and said during a forum in Ivory Coast that the U.S. was misrepresenting the facts. He also told a domestic audience that all South Africans, regardless of race, should stay and confront the nation's problems. Meanwhile, President Trump has warned that he may skip the upcoming G20 summit in South Africa unless the situation is addressed. Researchers from the University of Oxford have documented wild chimpanzees in Uganda using plants to treat injuries and what scientists describe as natural forest first aid. Working with the Bondugo forest, the team recorded multiple instances of chimpanzees applying chewed plant material to wounds, both on themselves and others. The findings published in the Frontier of Ecology and Evolution build on earlier research showing that chimpanzees seek out specific plants to eat for medicinal purposes. This latest study compiled decades of field notes and video evidence to catalog behaviors, including wound treatment and hygiene practices like using leaves for cleaning. Lead researcher Dr. Eldol Freeman noted the behavior suggested both medical knowledge and social awareness among the animals. In one case, a young chimp was seen treating an injury on its mother, and other records describe chimps helping unrelated individuals, further pointing to a possible capacity for empathy. Previous research by the same team has found that many of the plants used by chimpanzees have antibacterial properties. Scientists believe this knowledge could aid in the development of new medicines. The study highlights how these primates use their environment to stay healthy, in contrast to human reliance on modern healthcare systems. And just before we end the news, a quick look at tomorrow's weather forecast. And to end the news today, a quick recap of the headlines. President Trump signed strategic defense and aviation agreements with Qatar, elevating bilateral ties. Federal judge upholds Trump administration's use of Alien Enemies Act for deportations. House Republicans advance major Trump-backed spending and tax bill. President Trump offers Syria sanctions relief in exchange for ties with Israel security cooperation. Trump administration considers green light for UAE to import over 1 million NVIDIA AI chips. And that's the news for today. Join us at the same time tomorrow for more news. I'm Barbara Sam. Good night and God bless you.